asked that question. I remember, why do you work for Office Tiger?
Right, well, yes.
And they were, and then...
But it's about how you ask it, isn't it? It's about, you know...
So, and then, if you would have had a chance to interview them after they had left the company, so did you ever get a chance to actually say, all right, let me shoot that and try to put it in? Or you said no?
No, because none of them left the company while I was filming. A lot of them left the company after we stopped filming, which is sort of a shame. And I did meet people who had left the company who I'd met when I went over there. But, I mean, I think that their experiences in the company spoke for themselves. And I definitely, and the same thing with Shootout. It's like what I think about Apu's directing style or his movie is completely irrelevant. I want people to be able to, I want people who love the movie, and there are people in some of the screenings who've seen the movie and love the movie, love Shootout at Lokhandwala, who really enjoy this documentary, and there are people who hate the movie who enjoy it. And it's the same thing. I mean, Joe Siegelman, the CEO of Office Tigers, he seems to like the film, and people who think that it's completely corrupt and, you know, exploitative like the film. On the other hand, I get attacked frequently in all of my films for not taking enough of a stand. I mean, it happened in the Q&A last night. Yeah. People who do think like the job of a documentary is to tell you, to make an argument, to tell you what to think, and it's just not the kind of film I make. Right. And I don't want people, I like it when people say, I couldn't tell what you think. Or when people, you know, are those moments where they're guessing, is this where you're tilting your hand? You know, these moments where we think maybe we're getting a sense of what you think. Like, because what I think doesn't matter. I want to do something that's kind of playing with the responses of the viewers and making them think.
Because yesterday, not being a filmmaker, I loved both the films. I was inspired yesterday. Honestly, I was inspired. Not because it was Shootout at Lokhandwala. I wouldn't have cared less if it would have some of them. The whole concept of actually telling a story in the form of a documentary, Office Tigers, yes. At the same time, after coming out of the movie, you talk with all these other filmmakers who had a lot of things to say, especially in the Q&A session. So, again, my question is for somebody who's interested in taking this up, especially in an Indian sense where a lot of documentaries could have been told.
Right.
Loads of interesting subjects. How would you start off? How would you actually say, all right, to be a documentary filmmaker, I know it's I'm asking you for a list, I mean, a prerequisite 1, 2, 3, 4. What is the process? I mean, very briefly. Jumping in and saying, I want to make a documentary.
Okay, well, my first film, I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, the first thing you have to do, I think, is really seek out feature-length documentaries, not the stuff that's on television, and get a sense of, I mean, I spent 2 years, I didn't exactly go to film school. I went to a kind of documentary film anthropology program, but the best thing about that wasn't learning how to use a camera. It was, I spent a huge amount of time in the library watching movies, and I watched documentaries for 2 years, and I've seen a lot of documentaries from all over the world in lots of different styles. So when I hear documentary, I don't think the BBC World or Discovery Channel special. I mean, I hate that stuff. I can't watch it. In fact, not only can I not watch it, but if I'm at a festival where they're showing something like that, I literally get like jitters and have to leave. I hate the voiceovers. I hate the slow moves on still pictures. I mean, so I think the first thing you have to do is figure out stylistically what kind of movie you want to make, and watch lots of stuff and get ideas. Because if you don't, and have a clear style in your head, then once you know the kind of movie you want to make, you know the kind of story that you want to try to tell. Obviously, I haven't been drawn to making historical documentaries about dead artists. I mean, for me, this Afghan thing is going to be a real challenge. It's the first thing I've done about someone who's not alive, but part of my approach in that is going to be the search to try to find the people who can try to evoke who he was, because he's not here anymore, right? So, I mean, you have to figure out what your approach is and then look for a story that will fit with your approach. I mean, I think for a first-time film, you don't want a story that's too complicated. You want to figure out, you know, what do I think is an important story that I haven't seen well told? You're never going to find something that's never been told, but what hasn't been well told? Or maybe in Bombay you will find something that's never been told. There's so many stories all over India, but is it something that's got strong characters? You can have the best story in the world, but if you're looking to make a movie about a Bollywood film and it's fantastic, interesting, backstory's great, but the director, if Apu had been like a really quiet, you know, every time you asked him a question he went on for a really long time, you know, I mean, you have to have characters who jump off the screen, or else it's not, no matter how brilliant they are, no matter how much you like them. So like something like Office Tigers, we spent 2 weeks just sort of casting in the office to figure out which people working there we were going to follow. You know, just cycling people through, and it's not a judgment on them or how interesting they are, it's just some people work. So the best story in the world, if the characters aren't there, I mean, it's a lot like feature filmmaking. You have to have characters, you have to make sure your story is taking place in a time frame that you can cover. If it's not, how are you going to fill in backstory? How are you going to find an ending if there's no natural ending? You have to ask yourself all these storytelling questions. You have to write a treatment that reads like a short story. And I mean, that's the biggest thing, is finding the story. Once you found the story, well, all right, you shoot it yourself, you find someone else. I mean, all of these things are fairly straightforward. You find people who know how to do filmmaking. But the hardest thing is really making sure that you know the story and you know the way you're going to tell it. You're not just sort of running around randomly interviewing or randomly shooting.
Thank you. I think it's getting late for
yeah.
Carpet. I really don't want to go.
Oh, I'm happy to miss the red carpet.
Can I ask you just one last question?
Yes.
Do you have any interest in writing or making narrative live-action films?
Yes, I am very interested in making narrative films. I just keep getting stuck doing these documentaries. I mean, I love doing documentaries, but I'm definitely, I have a couple of ideas. I have an idea for a novel I'm trying to adapt, and I occasionally get tossed, you know, there'll be a screenplay in development somewhere that someone will think will be right. You know how that business is, so nothing's happened, but I would love to, especially after making Shot in Bombay, sitting there watching the whole process. It made me, I'm itching actually to do it. I would love to do it. Maybe that's how I'll get back to Bombay.
It'd be great to see you film.
Thank you.
Thanks, Liz.